Well, if it's not bad enough for a bunch of bureaucrats in Switzerland to tell us what to do with our money, our own federal government never stops wasting it. A new investigation began today in Congress to root out wasteful spending on computer systems in government departments. California Congressman Darrell Issa is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee that is running the investigation. He joins us now. Congressman, welcome back to the show. What's your most important finding here?
Well, the most important finding is that we lose on IT, or information technology procurement, in two ways. First of all, we waste about $20 to $30 billion of what we spend in new production. In other words, 100 million, 500 million, billion-dollar programs that get written off unsuccessfully. The other part is that 75% of what we spend our money on is legacy systems. What I mean by that is often systems for which the computers they ran on no longer exist, and we're constantly trying to port systems that only the older part of your audience would remember, Fortran and COBOL, to make them work. And I think this
let me just pile on here, Congressman, for a second, because I've been to the Department of HUD where they actually were running COBOL. I mean, the systems are so old, so antiquated, you can't imagine that patches and fixes are going to work. Now, some of the numbers that you're coming up with that I find frankly fascinating. The government's spending $81 billion a year on IT, but 1 in 4 of those dollars you say being wasted. Is that acceptable?
It's not acceptable, and because they've thrown money at it from the low 40s to $81 billion in 10 years, clearly more money is not the solution, but doing things differently has to be, including holding vendors responsible with a plan that if the program doesn't work, we don't pay. So the IT reform that our committee is draft proposing does that. And I'll give you another one that our committee was furious about. Years ago, our committee created what was called the Chief Information Officer position, or CIO. There are 24 major agencies in the government. There are 243 CIOs. Now, I don't know what the word chief is supposed to mean exactly, but it certainly doesn't mean it's a lot of Indians calling themselves chief and being paid very well for it. We need to change that. We need to get budgets aligned.
Well, that's like a company having, scores of CEOs. I can't imagine how that works. Another example from the GAO study, because I think it's hard for people to understand the redundancies out there, the way government just wastes our money every single day. In the Department of Defense, the Navy, they have personnel assignment systems. They have one for officers, another one for enlisted personnel, and yet a third for reservists. That would seem to make no sense. Why couldn't you consolidate those, save some money out there for taxpayers who are ponying up new dough every year for IT, and it just makes no sense?
Jerry, you're not only right, but I'll give you one that should infuriate you even more. I went on active duty as an enlisted man in 1970 and left active duty as an officer in 1980. I had 2 sets of records, sometimes 3 sets of records at all time. I had my active duty records. The reserve in St. Louis had another set that burned, and the Veterans Administration maintained another set. And particularly when you're talking about returning veterans who have injuries they sustained, having multiple medical records that aren't computerized is also terrible. And we've been working on it since I left active duty in 1980. Wow. Clearly, if we keep throwing money at it, we're not going to get there.
So what are you going to do? Congressman, what are you going to do? Because this needs to be, this is ridiculous. Cobalt? Are you kidding me? Fortran?
Our draft legislation is once dropped, and we're reaching out to people to get input, particularly from the private sector. We intend on overhauling the system and saving that $20 or $25 billion, either applying it to systems that work or sending it back to the taxpayer. And I think that's the beginning of it. But let me give you the other part of IT. It's not the $81 billion. It's the fact that we don't know where the waste, fraud, and abuse is in government because these systems don't work. If we get these systems to work properly through better procurement, what happens is we start seeing the hundreds of billions of dollars being wasted, and that's where the real savings to the American people will come from.
All right. Well, before you go, I have to ask you about the president's inauguration speech. What did you make of it, A, and B, please address all these stories about how fractured the GOP is right now. Lots of talk about how the party, Congress in particular, is not going to be able to respond, not going to be able to save money for the American people.
Well, first of all, we're very united in the Republican Party on saving money. We only control 1/2 of 1/3 of the government, but we're very united on that. But we're also a party of individual liberty and individual thought. So a lot of our members are trying to find better ways to stop a president who gave an 18-minute address that was absolutely all liberal agenda. Beyonce lip-synced her song, but the president's song could have been easily figured out by simply going to the progressive playbook and reading off all the wants that he articulated for his entire speech.
So you didn't seem to see an olive branch being extended across the aisle in that speech.
He didn't even give us a cut-off end of one. Clearly, the president has an agenda. He's going to try to push it, and that agenda is very expensive. And look, we would support bigger government if bigger government was the solution. I think the American people know that our government is already bloated and it's cutting off opportunities. Job creation in the private sector is, except for that energy sector you named, is in fact lethargic. I'm going to Davos with Eric Cantor this weekend. We're going to be the other part of that discussion that, in fact, low-cost carbon coming in the form of natural gas exports is part of what America can do. And low-cost energy is what brings prosperity to the world. I'm happy to talk about new energy.
Can you please, while you're there, Congressman, can you please tell Felipe Calderon that we don't want to send him $14 trillion for green energy, please?
I absolutely will express the fact that if we're going to get to affordable, sustainable energy, we've got to make sure it pencils out rather than simply being subsidized at the cost, quite frankly, of the ratepayers. Right. Men and women in America who pay more for electricity don't realize what they're doing is being asked to pay more for something that, although they feel good about it, is never in the foreseeable future going to get to be more than 20% of the source. And effectively, it's coal and natural gas that are making it seem like electricity is still affordable. If you had to buy all your energy from wind, you, in fact, could not afford your electric bill.
Well, you'd have no energy. You'd have to wear big winter coats in your house. Chairman Issa, thanks for coming on tonight. Come back soon, please.
Thanks, Jerry. Sure will.